You know, it's funny that I start this video. This is right after my school. My friend got me a video game, and I was thinking of playing that instead of recording, but I know for a fact I have to record, so I'm gonna do that instead. I only have to record 3 more videos, so that's fine. One FNAF 2. Tomorrow, well, actually yesterday, the FNAF 2 came out. Not the video I edited, but the video that's coming out, but tomorrow. So this is recorded on a Tuesday instead of a Saturday, blah blah blah. And actually, after the last video of Fetch, I got a comment saying Fetch is my favorite FNAF character. And I say, I hope that is a true fact, Mr. Shadow Fox. I would do a lot more. You give me info, I give you book reading about Fetch. How does this already have a cut on it? Whatever. I keep these in mint condition, but this one already has a cut somehow. Whatever. So, before we start this off, I actually did some math. Because it's 20 pages per chapter, and then we end the chapter with either a very long episode or a very short. So I was writing those down, and then copy-paste into my thing, and then boom, the video. And I don't have to do anything else besides that. Yeah, this is the amount of videos we're going to have to do. We already did the first one, now we're going to do second. It's 4, 4, 5. So, this is going to be a very, very full book. This is going to be a 13 episodes type of thing. So, that's nice. Let's continue where we left off. But first, I got to go grab myself a drink. And no, I didn't add the fox like I told myself to edit in. Because it was 2 in the morning. And I got 0 sleep last night. I got maybe 3. No, I was up to 2. Fell asleep around 2:30. And then woke up around 7. So about 4 hours of sleep last night. So if I still sound like total garbage, I'm sorry. But first, let me go grab my drink. I'm gonna grab this one. And fun fact about this drink, this drink right here, I'm not gonna drink it. I'm just showing you guys. Not showing, but you know what I mean. This drink right here is made of many different things. I have the recipe on my phone. I'm not giving it out for future purposes, just in case I trademark it. When you drink it, your eyes immediately open wide, your throat is cleared, and your teeth feel beautiful. So that's nice. It's a good drink to drink in the mornings. It's better than coffee. I'm going to say that outright. I don't care if it's taste or anything. It tastes fine. It tastes like strawberries. And I like strawberries. It tastes like strawberries and you wake up. Clears your throat as well. But I'm going to be using Kool-Aid for this video. I'm not going to be using that because that's my morning drink. I only drink like a shot glass of it every morning, so it's still up and running. But aside from that, I'll be right back. And then we'll start the video. So, actually, before I go, knowing this, you have something like this. Okay, Google, play Despacito. That's my Google going off. Alexa, play Despacito. I don't know the other one. Okay, Echo, play Despacito. There you go, now you got to listen to Despacito. I'll be back. TF2 videos are the best to watch. It's better than my content. I read books for a living. Well, I might as well be. Okay, we left off of our guy, Greg, I believe, talking about, or not our guy, Greg, Mr. Jacoby, the scientist, talking about science and stuff. The 0-point field. The field is scientific proof that there are no such thing as a vacuum. No such thing as nothingness. If you are empty space of matter and energy, you still find the submatic terms a bunch of activity. This constant activity is a field of energy that always is in motion. Subaquatic matter constantly interacting with other subaquatic matter. Mr. Jacoby rubbed his freckled nose. Are you all with me? I give him a German voice because this character sounds, the way he talks, a lot like the medic from Team Fortress 2. So, I'm talking like that. Greg nodded enthusiastically. Haiti, who sat next to him at the three-person lab table, nudged him. Hey, this is your stick. Hey, this is your stick? Greg ignored him. Mr. Jacoby grinned at Greg and took his nod to represent the entire class, which was unwise, but Greg was fine with it. Good, Mr. Jacoby continued. So, this energy is called the 0-point field because fluctuations in the field are still found in temperatures of absolute zero. Absolute zero in the lowest possible energy state, where everything's been removed and there should be nothing remaining to make any motion. Makes sense? Greg nodded again. Great! So the energy would be zero, but when they measure the energy, mathematically, it never actually reaches zero. There's always some remaining vibration due to continued particle exchange. Still with me? Greg nodded enthusiastically. He had no idea Mr. Jacoby was going to talk about this today. What were the odds? He grinned. There were no odds. It was a field. He was so excited that he missed the next few minutes of Mr. Jacoby's lecture. It didn't matter. He knew this stuff. He did turn back in, though, when Kimberly Bergenston raised her hand. Uh-oh, love interest. Well, he sort of tuned back in. He heard a question. Is this just theory? He also heard the start of Mr. Jacoby answer. Not entirely. Consider the scientific trend before the scientific revolution. That's where Greg tuned out again. He caught up in watching Kimberly, who wouldn't. Long, inky black hair, amazing green eyes, prettier than any model Greg had ever seen. Greg felt himself flush, and he wiped his gaze away from Kimberly before someone caught him staring. Too late. Katie nudged him again, and when Greg looked over, Katie made a goofy goo-goo eyes at him. Greg shifted his attention back to Mr. Jacoby. As usual, Greg, the last one out of the room when class was over. Oh my god, same! Seriously, my last name is Zeller. I get out of the class last, or I get out of the class first. It's never middle, it's just last or first. It sucks. Mr. Jacoby smiled at him as Greg gathered his stuff, and Greg gave another thought to talking to his teacher. Then he felt his phone vibrate. Waving at Mr. Jacoby, Greg pulled out his phone and he stepped away into the hallway. He looked at the screen. Hello, Greg. HRU. How are you? The phone number wasn't familiar. Greg looked around. Who was texting him? He entered. I'm fine. Who's this? And then he watched the screen. Fetch. Uh-oh! Oh! Aha, very funny, Haiti, Greg muttered. He texted what he said. The reply wasn't what he expected. Question for you. Or, question mark for you. What's your question? Greg texted. Why did you leave? Greg rolled his eyes and answered. You're hilarious. T-Y, you answer? Thank you, you answer? Greg felt a tap on his shoulder. You're going to be late for Spanish, amigo, Haiti said. Greg, I like Haiti. He's like one of the weird kids. He's like, you're gonna be late for Spanish, amigo. Like how if I'm late for Spanish, I go, ¿Cómo se dice I'm late? Oh God, please don't kill me. Such a small joke. Greg whipped around. Haiti raised an eyebrow, and Cyril, who stood next to him, took another step back. Why are you texting me if you're right here? Greg asked Haiti. Dude, you whack. Do I look like I'm texting you? Actually, no. Haiti's phone was nowhere in sight. Greg looked back at his phone. Whoever was texting him had repeated, you answer? Greg looked at Cyril. Did you text me? No, porque habría. I didn't know why you texted me. And stop speaking in Spanish. Greg said. Cyril ignored him. Venga? He tugged on Greg's sleeve. I hate Spanish. Same. I like Greg as a character. He has everything I like and hate. I like working on things that have no meaning in the future. Science does, but come on now. Not like we're going to use it. But I hate Spanish. So, him and me have the same thing. I hate Spanish, Greg said. Cyril looked past Greg and said, Hola, Manuel. Manuel? Greg turned to look at Manuel Gomez, who had transferred into school a couple weeks ago from Madrid, Spain. Hola, Cyril, ¿cómo estás? Estoy bien tú. Bueno. Hoy, Manuel, ¿conoces a Greg? Cyril asked, gesturing at Greg. No. Manuel smiled at Greg and held out his hand. Enchantada de conocerte? Frick, man, he just said, nice to meet you, Cyril told Greg. Lo sé, Greg said. I'm not a total Spanish spaz. Close enough, Cyril said. Manuel laughed. Greg tiene muchos problemas en el español, Cyril told Manuel. I'd be happy to help you in Spanish anytime, Manuel said to Greg. Want me to give you my number? He held out up his phone. Sure. Greg swapped phones with Manuel and they exchanged numbers. Yo, Mousy, someone called out to Cyril. How's your mom doing? She a little freak? She still a freak like you? Greg turned to face Cyril's bully. He cleared his throat and said loudly, remember this, Trent. 3 things in life are important. The first is to be kind. The second is to be kind. And the third is to be kind. So, said Henry James. Trent shoved Greg. You're a freak. As Trent sauntered away, Haiti nudged Greg. You read too much. You don't read enough. In unison, they said in staggered, deep voices, the universe is in balance. They bumped fists and finished with, Cha! A couple of kids in the hall deliberately jostled Greg and one of them said, You guys are weird. And proud of it, Greg sang. He shook his head. Emmanuel touched Greg's shoulder. I like Henry James, too. He grinned and held out a fist. Greg bumped fists with Manuel and then shoving his phone in his pocket. Greg followed Cyril and Haiti to Spanish. He wasn't going to talk to them about the text now, but he didn't stop thinking about the text either. If neither Haiti nor Cyril sent, then who did? Someone else in the restaurant with the boys on Saturday night? Was it that slamming door was? Or did someone see them leave and go and find Fetch? The idea that they'd been watched made Greg's skin crawl, but the idea that they hadn't been watched made all the hair stand up on Greg's arms. Could it be? He wouldn't think about it. Not yet. By the next day, he was thinking about it hard at the time. He received a dozen texts from Fetch. By now, he realized the text had to be from an animatronic. They couldn't be from anyone else because no one else could know everything Fetch was texting about. Obviously, Fetch was dialed into Greg, so to speak. It quickly became clear that Fetch was synced in Greg's phone, and he was trying to live up to his name. When Greg told Cyril he needed more time to do some homework, Fetch sent Greg a link to a time management article, and a clock app appeared on Greg's phone. When Greg looked at Regs online, he received a link from Fetch to an article about the latest research into attention from REGs. When Greg finished the article, Fetch texted 01101110110101011000001 0111001 1. This baffled Greg until he thought about the article he just read. The article talked about experiments being done using REGs to measure whether a person could think hard enough to have an effect on an outcome in the physical world. Greg knew REGs generated random ones and zeros, Greg thought. Was it possible? Greg copied Fetch's text into text converter. Sure enough, Fetch had texted OK in binary code. Greg shivered as he texted back OK. He wasn't sure it was OK at all. It was more spooky than OK. I'm gonna go on that. Is that a real thing? Binary to text? I'm just gonna start texting people in zeros and ones. That's gonna be funny. As if getting text from an old animatronic dog wasn't bizarre enough to begin with. One day, Greg told his mom on the phone that he was craving chocolate. She said that she wasn't always said when mentioned candy. Not good for you. Have an apple. Later that day, when she got home from shopping, she pulled a chocolate bar out of the bag. How'd this get here? She said in annoyance, tucking her chin-length blonde hair behind an ear. I didn't buy this. She checked her receipt and discovered the bar was on the order she placed online. Must be a glitch, she said. I have to email them. Then, when she thought Greg caught Greg watching her, she said, well, it's your lucky day, and tossed him the bar. As he caught the candy bar, he was pretty sure he couldn't eat it yet. He was too excited. If he was right, Fetch had just fetched him a candy bar. Okay, so this thing goes on everything? Okay, that's weird. What else could the animatronic dog do? And how was he doing it? Greg could accept barely that Fetch was synced with his phone. But Fetch wasn't synced with his mom's phone, was he? Text messages continued day after day. Sometimes Greg responded just because, sometimes not. Either way, he kept the log on his journal. He was giving him important feedback for his project. A lot of exchanges with Fetch made no sense, like the day Fetch texted DDAS. Adidas? Why would I do anything stupid? Greg responded. Don't know. DDAS? I don't know what the freak that means. Sometimes the texts were clear. One day, Greg texted Serial, and he was having trouble with the Spanish homework, and he needed a translation for, I don't know how to make a banana bread without eggs or flour. Serial didn't respond, but Fetch texted, no sé cómo hacer pan de paleno sin huevos ni harina. Serial didn't text back until late in the evening when he did his translation as the name as Fetches. Was it time for Greg to tell his friend what was going on? He decided to wait, but then became the spider. I'm sorry? It's not page 30 yet, but I need to look this up real quick. I'm too thinking about it. DDAS. Yeah, what the freak does that mean? I got a text message as well. Another day you can... Okay. Division of Disability and Aging Services, Digital Data Acquisition System, which that makes sense. Digital Artist Society, doesn't make sense. Digital Data Access Service. Yeah, I'm gonna say the digital thing. That makes a lot more sense than anything else. One Saturday, a couple weeks before Christmas, Greg was home taking care of Jake. This his now usual Saturday babysitting gig. Dare, or Uncle Dare, to both Greg and Jake, thanks to Dare's close friendship with Mrs. McNally, and suggested he come over with a rainy day picnic, complete with yellow smiley face picnic blanket, some potted plants, rubber toy insects, and a winker basket full of creative sandwiches like artichoke salad with provolone and raisins on pumpernickel and chicken and peanut butter on rye. Fortunately, Dare knew Greg wasn't as adventurous with food as he was, so he included a couple of ordinary tuna salad sandwiches, too. They set up their picnic in the living room in front of the big picture window, overlooking the dunes and the ocean. You could barely see the ocean through the rain. One shade of gray merged with the next. Jake, 4 years old, loved the picnic, but he wasn't keen on a huge rubber spider that lurked near the edge of the picnic basket. He was so agitated that Greg suggested they put the picnic on hold. He got out 2 spatulas and made a big production of scooping up the spider and putting it on a sealed plastic bag. Wasn't enough for Jake. Out, he demanded, pointing the chubby figure toward the door. So Greg put it in his rain jacket and went out in the rain, while Dare and Jake supervised from under the shelter of the house. Greg dug a hole in the mud and buried the rubber spider. Rubber spider? Weird. Satisfied, Jake ate the rest of his picnic lunch without comment. Good job, boyo, Dare said. Greg enjoyed the praise. He never got any from his dad, who, as usual, was working. When Dare was around, though, he didn't seem to mind his father's disapproval as much. His uncle made everything seem better. A couple of days before Christmas, Greg and Haiti were talking on the phone about Trent. He's such a jerk, Greg said. He laid on his bed, watching his plants, spending specific thoughts on them like one might send to an REG, just like in Cleve Baxter's experiments. His plants seemed to be responding well to his latest attentions. I don't really pay attention to him, Haiti said, but I know he freaks out cereal. Yeah, he needs to be pranked, Haiti said. I'm thinking spiders. I overheard him the other day telling Zach he's afraid of spiders. Greg laughed. Seriously? Got a rubber one buried in my backyard. If the rain stops, I'll dig it up, come over. Yeah, do that. Ho ho ho. It'd make a nice surprise in his stocking. Greg waited a few hours, but the rain didn't let up. It thumped relentlessly on the roof. Greg hadn't promised Haiti he'd go over and wrap presents. He wouldn't have left the house, but he promised. So he geared up in the rain and stepped outside. He almost screamed when he looked down and saw a huge spider covering the well and welcome friends to his mother's jute doormat. Jumping back, he started at the spider and realizing now what it was. He felt his pulse accelerate. This was not possible. But there it was. It was the rubber spider he buried, still in its now muddy plastic bag. No one except Dare and Jake knew where the spider was. Jake and his family had gone to Hawaii for Christmas, and Dare was on a ski trip with friends. Wish you could be here for a white Christmas, boyo, Dare had said on the phone that night before. Leaning over, picked up the plastic bag by the corner as if it felt a deadly creature in of itself. Greg held the bag in front of his face. Were those teeth marks on the bottom edge? Dropped the bag. His phone buzzed. He sucked in his breath and fumbled his phone. Merry Xmas. Merry Christmas to you, to Fetch. Greg entered while trying to ignore the fact that his fingers were trembling. It's page 32 right now. So, 8 more pages and then we're done for the second video. But it's every 10 pages a drink break, so here's my theory. I think Fetch, last time we were more talking about the cat animatronic, but I'll talk about that a little more after we're done reading the book. But Fetch, I believe Fetch is 2 things. He's not just one. I believe Fetch is both an animatronic, but a virus. He goes into your phone, makes itself a own contact, and then texts you. When you text something to someone else, it's a virus in the fact that it can go through all your contacts, all your text messages, your search history, it can go through everything. So when they're texting back and forth saying, I think he's scared of spiders, or when they were in a phone call, I couldn't tell, to be honest. Fetch was like, ooh, it's time to do thingy. And went in action, dug it up, because he specifically said, buried in my backyard. That's when this creature right here went into the backyard, saw the most dug up spot, dug into it, and called it a day. And that is my general theory at this moment, that Fetch is both a virus and an animatronic. And to be honest, it's actually a very, very, very solid one with a lot of what's-it-call-its. But if you can excuse me for a moment, I gotta go to the bathroom, and this will be edited out. Don't worry about that. But I just gotta go to the bathroom real quick. See you guys in a second. I'm back. Stomach aches really get you, don't they? Okay, what was I? He didn't wait for a reply, ignoring the urge to throw the phone into the shrubs at the edge of his yard. He shoved it back into his pocket. It was time. He had to talk to his friends. The day after Christmas, the boys gathered in Greg's mom's room. In Greg's room. On the bed, I just drank an entire thing of cactus core, so I'm burpy. Greg sat with his back against the navy blue cushioned headboard. His friends sprawled next to each other at the foot. He glanced around the room, taking comfort in his familiar surroundings. Posters of musicals alerted with puppy posters on the walls. 2 shelving units stuffed with books flanked the window that looked out toward the ocean. The sky outside was a matte gray, as if an artist had no sense of depth, just slathered paint across the horizon. On the wall opposite the window, his plants sat in rows on shelving under a now hanging bank of grow lights. His antique roll-top desk, a gift from Dare, sat next to the door. A plate of gingerbread cookies Greg had baked 2 days before sat in the middle of the bed. Grabbing a cookie, Haiti asked, "So, what's this urgent meeting about?" "Yeah," Sirius asked. I was going to go to the day after Christmas. I was going to go to the day after Christmas sales with my mom. Eddie shook his head. Seriously, dude, do listen to yourself. You might as well wear a t-shirt that says, "Make fun of me." Greg threw a dirty sock at Haiti. Leave him alone. If he likes to shop with his mom, he likes to shop with his mom. Haiti gave Greg a mock bow. You make a point. He nodded toward Cereal. It's time for real. Sorry. Is okay. In the silence that followed, Greg weighed how he was going to explain everything. Well, maybe he wasn't going to explain everything. Maybe just some things. For sure, he had to tell them about Fetch. He looked over at the nightstand, stacks of books, papers on his phone, still revealing text from Fetch. His most recent, an hour before Cereal and Haiti showed up, was, "Do you need food for a meeting?" "No, thank you," Greg texted back. He took a deep breath and wrinkled his nose at the scent of lavender air freshener his mother had put someplace in his room. Fun fact, it wasn't his mother. He'd been looking for it, but hadn't found it yet. He preferred the smell of his sweaty clothes. Thank you very much. Okay, so there's no way to say this, but to say it, he began. He sincerely looked at him. Fetch was sending me text. His friends stared at him. They blinked in unison. Who's Fetch? Haiti asked. Wait, you mean that dog thing? That prize from the pizzeria? Is this a joke? Is this a joke? Cereal asked. Greg shook his head. Picked up one of the stacks of papers on the nightstand. All of the text messages he printed out, held it out to Cereal. Look! He waited while Cereal and Haiti scooted together so they could read the text at the same time. This can't be real, Cereal said. His voice was even higher than normal. This can't be real. Haiti grabbed the stack of printouts and flipped through them. He glanced at Greg and then said to Cereal, "He wouldn't prank us like that." "No, I wouldn't," Greg said. "Want to see my phone? I'm smart, but I'm not smart enough to spoof text on my phone." Haiti shook his head. He abruptly stood and started packing in a tiny circle on Greg's blue and maroon braided rug. "He must have synced your phone, dude," Haiti said finally. Greg nodded. "Yeah, except..." Whoa, wait! I'm not a techie. But I don't see how something as old as that animatronic dog could sync up with a modern smartphone. That's just not possible. Obviously it is, though, Hades said. It's not just syncing. Greg reached for the muddy plastic bag containing the spider that held up. He felt like he should say Exhibit A, but didn't. What's that? Serial shifted away so fast he fell off his bed with a thud. Greg suppressed a laugh while Serial jumped up. Sorry, Greg said. It's not real. He told them the story of the picnic and the appearance of the unearthed bag on his doorstep. Serial gaped at him, then looked at Haiti and Greg and back at Haiti. No way! Let me see that. Let me see that. Haiti snatched the bag from Greg's grasp and examined it. Those are teeth marks. No way! Serial repeated. Way, Haiti said. It likes my plants, I think, Greg began. It was time to share what you were sure behind all of this. Haiti and Serial stared at him. What? Haiti asked. Have you heard of Cleve Bergster? Greg asked, pretty sure they hadn't. They shook their heads. He's a photograph expert who started doing experiments with plants in the 1960s. Okay, Haiti said. So what? So in the 1960s, Baxter had an idea to hook up a plant to a polygraph machine to see if he could measure how long osmosis took. Although he hadn't learned a thing about osmosis, he stumbled upon something else, something super cool. Greg stopped. Hold on. Serial and Haiti were still staring at the spider in the bag. They probably weren't even listening to him, and even if they were, Greg realized there was no way he was ready to tell them his theory. What if someone was in the building with us and now they're watching you? What if there's someone in the building with us now and they're watching you? Serial asked, confirming that he and Haiti hadn't been listening. What? A stalker? Haiti asked. And he bugged my phone or something? Grady asked. That's just crazy. But was it any crazier than what he thought was going on? Greg's phone buzzed. He picked it up and read the incoming text. He dropped the phone on the bed. Haiti and Serial looked in the front from Greg. He pointed at it. They leaned over and looked too and read the text again. E-L. What's E-L? Serial asked. Haiti went pale. He met Greg's wide-open gaze. Evil laugh, they said in unison. An animatronic dog that wanted to be helpful was one thing. An animatronic dog who wanted to be helpful, had a sense of humor, was okay. But an animatronic dog who had an agenda, well, that was, well, scary. After that, Greg stopped trying to get Haiti and Serial to understand what he thought was going on with Fetch. So when they finished freaking out about Fetch's text, he told them he'd keep them posted and decided it was time to conduct more experiments. Going to the abandoned restaurant in itself had been a test, and he still wasn't sure how that turned out. It started with him putting an intention out, a desire backed by his, and that it unfold. That had led to an impulse to act. The impulse had taken him to a restaurant where he found Fetch, but how did Fetch play into the grand scheme of things? He had to figure out. He decided to start with something small and specific. The next day, he got his first experiment's results. An advanced scientific theory, Mr. Jacoby, looking even more nerdy than usual in the blue checked short-sleeved shirt under the red-blue agro sweater vest, started his lecture with, "So now that we understand the zero-point field, let's see if we can figure out what it means for the real world. To the time, we're going to talk about REGs." Awesome, Greg thought. Random event generator. Usually referred to as an REG, Mr. Jacoby said, is a machine that basically flips a coin. Not really, of course, but it's a machine that is designed to generate a random output, just the same as you'd get by flipping a coin, assuming you're not cheating at it. Mr. Jacoby grinned and then continued. Instead of heads or tails, REGs produce a positive or a negative pulse, and then turn the pulses into ones and zeros, which, as you know, is binary code, the language of computers. One of the pulses are in binary code. They can be stored and counted. Researchers built an REGs as a way of studying an impact that focused thought has on events. Make sense? Greg nodded, and he noticed Kimberly did as well. Excellent! Mr. Jacoby clapped his hands once. So, I was able to get a small REG, and now it's time to do some intention experiments with it. I'm assigning partners. Greg held his breath. Will it work? He only had to wait through 2 pairings and find out. Greg and Kimberly, Mr. Jacoby said. Pair up. My man got his girl. Okay. Kimberly turned gracefully in her chair. Her chair sweeping through the air like she was in a shampoo commercial. She smiled at Greg, and his bones nearly disintegrated. He had to clutch the lab table to stay in his seat. His intention had worked. Grinning back at Kimberly and waving at her so exuberantly that her own smile flattered a little, Greg forced himself to stay seated. He had enough wits about him to know that if he did a happy dance, he'd be laughed at for years. Mr. Jacoby had everyone moved around so partners were seated together. He instructed them to exchange phone numbers because they need to stay in contact. Greg had to concentrate to keep his hand steady when he was passed the phone to Kimberly and took her phone, tucked it into a bright purple case to enter his number. After they returned each other's phones, Mr. Jacoby started explaining the experiment's instructions. Greg's phone buzzed, and per class rules, he ignored it. It wasn't until he got out of the hall after he and Kimberly set a time to meet up to do the first step of the experiment. He checked his phone. Fetch had texted, "Congrats!" I mean, hey man, Fetch is a good man. He congratulates people. At the end of the day, Greg couldn't wait to get home to record the triumph in his journal. Unfortunately, he missed the bus that morning. He had to bike to school. That wasn't a problem, but now the wind was blowing from the southeast. Couldn't bike hard enough to overcome the gust trying to shove him back toward the school. Eventually, he gave up and walked his bike to the rest of the way to his house. He was so lost in thought he forgot about the tiny terror that lived next door. It was like a rabid, furry missile, careening toward him at top speed. He nearly jumped to Mars when the dog launched itself from the outdoor table and threw itself over the fence right at him. Crap! He let go of his bike and dropped his backpack, catching the dog just as it hit his chest, and started snapping at his jugular. What was it with this dog? On reflex, he pushed the dog back over the short fence. When the dog hit the ground, it came up barking and snarling when it flung itself against the wooden boards. Greg didn't want to see what it would do next. I would catch it and pet it and be like, shh, puppy, you're good, puppy. Because I'm a nice person to dogs, unless you meet me in real life. He grabbed his bike and backpack and ran for the house. Once inside, he realized he was hyperventilating. Sinking to the floor in a puddle created a dripping coat. He texted Haiti, "Devil dog just tried to slash my throat." Scared the hell out of me. "You okay?" Haiti responded. "Shaken, not stirred." Haiti texted back, "Lol, I'm gonna use that." That night, Greg had nightmares. Not surprised, he spent the whole night in an abandoned pizzeria being chased alternately by Fetch, a faceless man, and the dog next door, while plants grew so fast inside the restaurant that the place turned into a jungle. On stage, the RG spewed out zeros and ones, almost too fast for the eye to register. Greg woke up and covered in sweat. Did the dream mean it was working or not? Shaking off the bad night, Greg scowled the window and the sideways rain. More wind? Apparently Dare was right about this year's winter storms. He threw some clothes quickly, already late for school. Racing to the door, Greg waved at his mom, who was on the phone. He ignored his dad, who was scowling at a sheet on his laptop while he guzzled coffee. Greg threw on his rain jacket, grabbed his backpack, and went out the door, down the steps. That's where he came to a stop, so abrupt. He lost his balance and had to grab a stair railing. His eyes widened. His pulse rate flew into overdrive and his stomach clenched. This couldn't be happening. Turning away from what was in front of him, Greg staggered nearest Butch and threw up. All he had in his stomach was water, which came up along with yellow bile, and then even his stomach was empty. He lurched some more and endured a couple rounds of dry heaves. Well, we will learn next video who the freak is this dog that, well, could be Fetch or it could be something else. Possibly Trent. We don't know. Next time, though, we will be 100% sure. On page 41, we got through this chapter, and this is chapter 2. In the description, I will put a binary code. If you can translate it back and put it in the comments, then you will get a heart. The first one to comment back what the thing in binary says, you will get a heart and pinned. And your channel will be showed off in the next Five Nights at Freddy's reading video. Sound like a deal? Well, let's hope it does, because I gotta go fix up a tire on a trailer. I hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. Be polite, be efficient, have a plan to kill everyone you meet. Don't die to the coronavirus. Have a super fantastic, wonderful day. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Oh yeah, and the reason why I'm not going womp anymore is because officially it is Mario's 35th birthday and Sonic's 30th. So I don't know Sonic's. I think it's no, I only know Mario's. I don't know Green Hill Zone, or I just forgot it. Whatever. But since it's 35th birthday for Mario, ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba, wow. And don't die of coronavirus. Love you guys. Have a good day.